Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the teaching of the Inner Christ. My name is Jennifer Allen-Prather. I'm a leader, teacher, and Inner Christ counselor here at the Teaching of the Inner Christ in San Diego, California. Welcome, all. The Teaching of the Inner Christ is a non-denominational, metaphysical, New Age teaching that teaches that anyone who so desires can contact their own inner Christ or inner divinity within them for their own life guidance and wisdom. And they don't have to go outside of anyone else or anything to get that wisdom from the highest level of the God within. And we teach this through our classes and through our Sunday services and our workshops. So thank you for being with us this morning. Let's have a unifying prayer. Let's just close our eyes for a moment and center. Center in the love of God. Center in the joy of God. That we have that joy within us. And that we are all one in God's joy. And we give thanks for this beautiful joy bubbling up within us, bringing us a new way of living through joy. Thank you, wonderful God, for this new realization and knowing that we are all one in God's joy. Thank you, God, and so it is, and let's come back with a deep breath. Breathe in and out. Open your eyes if you choose. I have a reading that I think is appropriate for today's talk, which I will introduce to you in a moment. It's from our love scriptures. We call them our love scriptures. They're pink books, and they are channeled messages from present-day Jesus, channeled through a group of adult sensitives from the Brotherhood of the Followers of the Present-Day Jesus. And I am reading today from one of the books entitled God's Will, on page 16. And just one paragraph I'll read. Jesus states, "And your lives shall be made simple, for it is the heart which shuts itself to joy of each activity, that reaches out for more and greater activity, that it may find its promise of joy. The mind that overlooks the joy of its own thoughts will search for more reading and more talking and more opinions and thinking of others. And the one who does not stop to enjoy every bite as they eat will eat more and more, looking for the joy promised him in his own creation, as the one who cannot find enough joy in his loved ones will go many places to seek many things and more people. No matter where you are, no matter how limited you may feel your experience, there is around you enough delight to flood your capacity for enjoyment. Open your eyes to it. You will find all things made simple. You will find your desires and appetites put in order. For your own joy and enjoyment shall be your regulator." Thank you, Jesus. The title of my talk today is Accepting New Joy. Figure that one out. Mm-hmm. So when I say 3 words, when I say, "Tickle me, Elmo," what do they make you smile? Do you know who Tickle Me Elmo is? Well, I have a picture of Tickle Me Elmo. I don't have an actual one. But Tickle Me Elmo was a toy. It was a little Muppet toy from the Muppets on Sesame Street TV. It was created by a division of Tyco Toys in 1996 and is still going strong now. And what made him so popular, and that particular 1996 December at Christmas time, it was sold out and people fought over trying to get a Tickle Me Elmo. Well, why is that, you say? You've never seen a Tickle Me Elmo, or maybe you've heard about him. Well, I've seen him operate, and I had something similar. So Tickle Me Elmo, when you squeeze him, he starts shaking. And then he starts going, and then he falls to the ground, and it's like he's heard the silliest joke in the whole world. And I don't know about you, but whenever I hear somebody laughing uncontrollably, it's contagious, even if it's a toy. I got a little tiger. He's a little stuffed tiger, and he stopped working after a while, but he had a little battery in him, and he started laughing. And he would roll over and over and over himself on the floor. And one day I took him to work when I was working, and I showed him to my coworkers, and they were all laughing hysterically. And they wanted to keep him on their desks. And I said, sure, you can have him for a while. But it lifted them. It lifted their day. It brought them joy. A little toy. So Tickle Me Elmo. I can't help but laugh. So think of what made you joyful in your childhood. Think of the times where you just had so much fun. You remember ever just laughing with friends uncontrollably until your stomach hurt? I do. I remember when I lived in Huntington Park, which is a suburb of Los Angeles, at the middle. And this will date me, I don't care. I had a pair of skates, and they weren't shoe skates. They were the kind that you screw onto your shoes.
And you have a key.
And you have a skate key. And I used to wear that skate key around my neck so I wouldn't lose it. And we had so much fun skating because we had long, long, long sidewalks where I lived. The blocks were very long. And all the kids in the neighborhood would skate together. Or if it was hot during the summertime, we had a front lawn and we'd run the sprinklers. We didn't have a pool. It didn't matter. We'd put our bathing suits on and run through the sprinklers, and then it would get the sidewalk wet. And then I laid on my stomach on the sidewalk, and it was warm, and it was wet, and it smelled like cement. It smelled so good. It's amazing how smells can bring you back.
Yeah.
Just in a moment. Or the times when it would rain, and I'd put on my rain boots, and I'd go out in the gutters, and I'd start splashing the biggest gutter and the biggest flood I could, in the pool I could ever splash in, just to make the biggest splashes. That brought me joy. So what brought you joy as a child? Think about that for a moment. And what brings you joy now? Are the same things bringing you joy, or have you gotten into the groove of adulthood? Oh, I can't be silly like that. Well, those memories still bubble up joy in me. And because they bubble up joy in me when I think of them, I automatically am in acceptance of current joy. I found an article written by a woman, a journalist for NPR. And her name is Allison Joyce. And she was writing about the Rohingyas, excuse me. They're a group of people who have been exiled from their home country into these camps. And she talks about this one particular young man. So one of his friends says, it's a young man who gives kites away to other kids in the camp. Now bear in mind, these children don't have anything. These families don't have anything. They live under cardboard. They live in dusty, dirty areas without much water. And this particular young man says, it's easy to make kites, but I need to find the materials. His name is Kamal. So he uses bits of cast-off bamboo and opaque plastic sheeting to fashion his kites. And the plastic comes from plastic bags left as trash. He goes through the trash in the camp. So he stretches the plastic sheeting over the bamboo that he had split with a machete. And he makes a diamond-shaped body of the kite. And then he cuts grocery bags into strips and makes tassels on the end of the kites. So he attaches it to the tail, what he calls the arms. And they flap wildly when it's flying in the air. So there's no Xbox or PlayStation for most of the kids in the Rohingya refugee camps in Bangladesh. But there are kites. In the late afternoon, a steady wind blows over the hills of the Allen-Prather refugee camp. Young boys race to the ridge at the top to fly homemade kites. Some of the kites are a little more than a plastic bag flapping on a string, but some are more sophisticated. One of them says, "This is a new kite and I'm very happy with it," says 7-year-old Mohammed Arafat, as he reels out string to a silvery kite 30 or 40 feet above him. If it didn't have arms and a tail, the kite won't fly well. It would spin around in the sky. It needs extra pieces, said Kamal. He says once he has material he needs, it takes him about 20 to 30 minutes to build a kite. He makes 4 or 5 a week and gives them away to the younger kids. His mother, Yema, sews clothes to earn extra cash. Kamal often borrows her thread and needles for his kite projects. When we heard that soldiers were coming toward our village, everyone hid in the forest, she says. When we emerged, the soldiers had burned down our houses. That's when we decided to come here to Bangladesh. His mother said she has a dream for her son that he gets a good education. He attends a school that meets for 2 hours most afternoons. In the mornings, he goes with his father to the edge of the camp to collect firewood. Kamal says he'd prefer to be a shopkeeper. For now, however, he's the kite guy. Once he finishes making his latest kite, he takes it out for a test flight. The camp is dry. Powdery beige dust covers just about everything. Kamal starts to run up a path that cuts between the shelters. This kite rises up behind him. It flits through the air like a fish fighting its way upstream. The opaque plastic shimmers in the sky. Its tail darts from side to side. Kamal beams up at his homemade kite, he says, for a moment, It's the brightest object in the camp. So here is a young man and other youngsters in this camp with nothing. But is that true? They have joy. They accept joy wherever they can find it. And here we are, one of the richest countries in the world. And we have a lot of people who are very depressed. So clearly, belongings, possessions, don't make for joy. So, how can we find and accept joy in our lives? Well, number one, we can claim it. I claim joy right now in my life. Just like we do in our prayer treatments here at the Teaching of the Inner Christ. One of the steps is claiming what we want. Claiming what we want. That's really important to get clear, isn't it, about what we want. Otherwise, it'll just be whatever it is. We've got to get clear. And number two, look for joy. Look for it. Every single day. Make it your mission to look for joy. Focus on it. And you know what? Kind of like when I see a friend who has a new car that I've really not noticed before, I will see that car on the road 100,000 times more. Because I look for it. And it's there. So focus. Look for joy every day. And number three, ask your inner Christ in meditation, how can I accept more joy in my life? Yes, joy. So, again, bring a little Tickle Me Elmo into your consciousness. You have the tools to do it. And accept the joy that's bubbling up within you when you see him, or when you think of your memories, or when you search for joy. Thank you very much for listening to my story. And now, we have a prayer that we say here at the Teaching of the Inner Christ. As I mentioned earlier, the claim part is part of that prayer. And I am going to say that prayer. It's called a RUCAT prayer. R-U-C-A-T. Some of you may know this already, and some may not. The R, first of all, we have a title for what it is that we're looking for. And the R is to recognize all of God's qualities. The U is to know that those qualities are all within and around us. The C is what we're claiming, which I mentioned earlier. What do we claim? The A is the accepting of what it is we're claiming and forgiving our fears, forgiving others, forgiving ourselves. And the T is being thankful for it already happening, even though we may not see it. So now let's tune into this prayer. It's a general prayer, but you can hold whatever it is in your heart. This is a prayer treatment for all of us here, for the fulfillment of our heart's true desires. We recognize that God is the source of all. that God is the creator of all good, that God is all powerful. God is omnipresent. God is divine love. God expresses itself through all creation. I am unified. I am one with God, the source of all. I am one with the creator of all good. I am one with all power. I am one with God's omnipresence. I am one with divine love. And I am one with God as all creation. Therefore, I claim for all of us the fulfillment of our heart's true desires, whatever that may be. I now accept for us the fulfillment of our heart's true desires as God's desires for us, working through us now. All error thoughts, fears, and false appearances are now healed, forgiven, released, and let go. And in the vacuum they leave is the fulfillment of our heart's true desires manifested. Thank you. I am thankful for the fulfillment of all of our heart's true desires manifesting right now. Trusting completely in the universal law of attraction to respond, I release, let go, and let God within us do the rest. Thank you, wonderful God in all of us. And so it is. And we have an affirmation for the coming week. This year I am cleaning my slate of the old and creating a new, exciting, loving, abundant, and radiant life. Let's say that little by little, shall we? You at home. This year I am cleaning.
This year I am cleaning
my slate of the old
my slate of the old
and creating a new,
and creating a new,
exciting, loving, abundant, and radiant life. And if you liked what you heard today and would like to know how the teaching of the inner Christ operates, you could certainly send us an email. You can go to our website. But if you really would like to help the teaching of the inner Christ spread the word around the world so that we can keep on going at the teaching of the inner Christ, show your appreciation, if you choose, by sending a donation through our website at www.teachingoftheinnerchrist.org. We will be very thankful to receive, and we know that as you give, you receive 1,000-fold or better in return. Thank you very much for listening and watching. Bye-bye.